Air Transat Airlines Flight 236 was going from Toronto to Lisbon. It was past midnight, and the plane was cruising at an altitude of 39,000 feet in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. This is the situation pilots face every day, and nothing is normal about it now. But there was only one thing on the plane that was going to change the whole situation in a few moments. Let us tell you here that even at the altitude of 39,000 feet above the Atlantic Ocean, it is not visible to be frozen. There, the captain suddenly learned that the plane's fuel supply was about to end. It was a very scary situation for both pilots, as running out of fuel over the Atlantic Ocean only meant death. This incident happened at Toronto Pearson Airport on August 20, 2001, as an Air Transat Airbus. A236 was being prepared for departure to Lisbon. It was going to be a non-stop flight of 7 hours, and that's why 48 metric tons of fuel were put in it. After the test, the voting process started. At this time, according to the local time, it was 9 o'clock in the night. Flight 236 carried 293 passengers and 13 crew members, including 2 pilots. Flight captain, a 48-year-old robot, was behind, with flight experience of 16,000 HRS. The first officer was a 28-year-old duck digger, and also had 5,000 hours of experience, out of which 400 hours he had flown the same plane, an Airbus A236. Talking about the flight, it was the state-of-the-art Airbus A236 model, which was only 2 years old. Overall, there was no shortage in the experience of the pilot or in the plane. There was no fault of any kind. After completing all the flight checks, the pilots took Flight 236 to the runway and took off with the permission of ATC. After takeoff, the pilot steered the plane across the Atlantic Ocean towards Lisbon. Within minutes, the plane reached its cruise altitude of 39,000 feet. This type of long flight is also not much work for the pilot because most of the work is done by the autopilot system. Pilots only monitor the situation and keep the control tower informed of their location and updates. 4 hours had passed since Flight 236 took off. Till now, everything was going normally, and most of the people in the passenger cabin were sleeping as it was night. The plane had reached the center of the Atlantic Ocean, and this was the moment when there was an issue with the plane. At 1 a.m. Canadian time, the pilot noticed an abnormal reading in plane engine number 2, the right engine of the plane. The oil pressure in the engine was high. The quantity of oil was less, and the oil temperature was also getting low. This type of error was seen for the first time in his career. He immediately opened the flight memory and tried to find out about this strange error. Normally, when the plane is operational, the oil temperature rises with time, but here it was indicating a low temperature, which was not normal in any way. He could not find any information regarding this error in the flight manual. The pilot contacted Air Transat's maintenance unit in Canada and alerted them to the error. Unfortunately, even the maintenance unit was not aware of this error. He told the pilot to keep monitoring this error. He will contact you after some time. Faulty readings of oil were being shown in the right engine of the plane, but the plane was working normally. The pilots relaxed, thinking that maybe some faulty sensor was giving wrong oil readings. But after half an hour, another advisory message was displayed in front of the captain. The message was related to fuel, not oil. Commercial airlines have fuel equally distributed on their wings, and it was noticed that Flight 236 did not have the same amount of fuel on both wings. The quantity of fuel in the right wing was less as compared to the left. Now, normally this issue is not so serious because it can be fixed during the flight itself. To fix the issue, the captain opened the CrossFit ball, which allowed fuel to flow from the left wing to the right wing, and within minutes the amount of fuel in both wings was equal again. It was only after about 10 minutes that the captain started seeing the low fuel warning. This was an issue that no pilot wanted to face, and that too on a plane full of passengers. The pilot noticed that the fuel in the right wing was low again, and now, even after combining both wings, there is not even enough fuel to reach Lisbon. This time the matter had become serious. There were not many options for diverting the plane in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. In reality, they had only one option, and that was Azores Island. This island is part of the Portugal territory in the Atlantic Ocean, and the airport is located on the island named Terceira. when the captain first contacted the Sina Miria ATC and told them that he was going to land at this airport due to a fuel shortage, even the pilot had not confirmed whether he would be able to reach this airport or if he would have to land in the ocean itself. At this time, there were 7 tons of fuel left in the plane. That is, it is very easy to see about 7,000 kg, but in reality it was only 6% of the fuel capacity of A236, and that too was decreasing very fast. But the question is, why the fuel was getting less? Was it a faulty sensor giving the wrong signal this time too, or was there actually a shortage of fuel? A shortage of fuel is possible only if fuel is leaking somewhere. To find out, the captain instructed the flight crew to monitor the trailing edge of the wings. If fuel is leaking, then there will definitely be some indication from there. But the crew could not get any such indication due to the darkness. Now the condition was that every 5 minutes, 1 ton of fuel was running out. It is now clear to the captain that fuel is definitely leaking from somewhere. He now had only 25 minutes of fuel left. Due to this, it was not possible to reach Terceira Airport as well. During this time, the captain and first officer were in constant contact with the maintenance unit and ATC. The maintenance unit instructed the captain to take the plane from 39,000 to 20,000 feet to confirm the fuel leakage, but the captain refused to do so because the pilot believed that even if the fuel leakage was confirmed, the ship would crash. It will not be possible to take it back up. At least we still have 2 gliding options left at 39,000 feet. In the next few minutes, all doubts were dispelled when a fire broke out in the plane's right engine. Seeing this, there was chaos on the ship and among the passengers, who were still sleeping peacefully. Their peace was covered by clouds of fear. The plane now had 4.5 tons of fuel and only 1 engine running. It was not possible to fly the plane on this engine. That's why the altitude started decreasing slowly. On the other hand, an emergency was declared at Terceira Airport. Fire trucks and emergency crews started their preparations to deal with all kinds of situations. The plane was still 240 kilometers from Terceira Airport. Now only 600 kg of fuel are left in it. In the meantime, what was feared happened. The plane's left engine got burned due to running on full thrust, and now Flight 236 started gliding over the Atlantic Ocean without an engine. Here, the captain's decision not to drop the ship up to 20,000 feet proved to be absolutely correct. Due to the shutdown of both engines, there was darkness inside the plane because the electrical system of the plane also runs because of the engine. Fortunately, the plane's automatic turbine came out, which generates only enough electricity from the airspeed to run the important cockpit equipment. Now Terceira Airport was 20 kilometers away. The plane had come down to 30.000 feet, and the captain had to cross this distance only by gliding. The darkness and pin-drop silence in the passenger cabin maintained an eerie atmosphere. Such silence was probably indicating some disaster. The worst case was that if the plane could not reach the airport, it would have to land in the ocean itself. For this reason, the crew started preparing for a water landing for the passengers. Landing in the ocean is dangerous in every way because even if the passenger survives the impact, they can drown in the water, and if they do not drown in the water, they can die of hypothermia due to the cold water. Now, normally it is very difficult to glide a passenger plane without an engine. Everything depended on the pitch control of the plane, which the pilots were manually controlling with the stick. The altitude of the planes was dropping by the minute at 2,000 feet. That is, in the next 15 minutes, the plane will arrive here at the airport. Here again in the ocean, when the distance of the plane remained 15 kilometers from Terceira Airport, its altitude was 13,000 feet, and normally at this distance, the altitude has to be kept at 3,000 feet. Now, if the pilot reduces his altitude by diving the nose, then the speed of the plane will become very fast, and in this situation, the chances of a crash landing are very high. That's why the pilot made the plane do the same 360-degree round. When this round was completed, the distance from the airport was the same, when the altitude had dropped to 5,000 feet. This altitude was still high, but not high enough to warrant another 360 degrees. That's why the pilot positioned the plane in line with the runway, and it got jig-jack curb, due to which the distance of the plane from the runway was delayed, and it got enough time to reduce the altitude. Under normal conditions, the flaps are kept open during landing, which creates drag and increases engine thrust, which causes the nose of the plane to rise. But Flight 236 did not have engine thrust, so this landing was very different from a normal landing and also very dangerous. The pilot had only one chance to land the plane. Eventually, the plane hit the runway with a loud bang, and 8 of the 12 tires burst. It was a little difficult to stop him, but finally he stopped doing skits. As soon as the plane stopped, a fire broke out in its landing gear, which was quickly controlled by the airport crew. The Flight of 236 was the first and last passenger plane in aviation history to hold the record for the longest glide without an engine. When the investigation took place regarding fuel leakage in the right engine, it was found that the maintenance crew had changed a part of the engine before takeoff in Toronto. But that part belonged to some other plane. Due to the loose fitting, there was vibration in it, and the fuel line passing close by was busted. It was only after this incident that Airbus installed a new system. Due to this, the pilot will be able to read the address of leakage in the future. A year later, Captain Robert Back and First Officer Duck Digger were awarded the Superior Airmanship Award for performing an Airbus A236 date stick landing. So my dear friends, please share this video with your friends and family. Please like and subscribe my channel. Thank you for giving your important time.